Hello friends, this is Jim with Science Talk, and in this video segment I'm going to discuss with you polar ice loss. Both north and south, polar ice loss is happening faster than ever. Researchers now have a measure of the accelerating flow into the ocean. In the last few decades, the speed of polar ice loss at both ends of the planet has begun to increase extremely dramatically. And of course, that will impact global sea levels dramatically as well. Antarctica is now losing ice mass 6 times faster than it did 40 years ago. In the decade that began in 1979, Antarctica surrendered 40 billion tons of ice a year to raise global sea levels. Excuse me. By the decade 2009 to 2017, this mass loss had reached 252 billion tons a year. I think I saw a recent report, something like 14,000 tons a second. Something, incredible ice loss amounts. In Greenland, the greatest concentration of terrestrial ice in the northern hemisphere accelerated its rate of ice loss fourfold in this century. So 6 times in Antarctica, fourfold in Greenland. Satellite studies confirmed that in 2003, around 102 billion tons of ice turned to flowing water or broke off into the ocean as floating bergs. 2013, this figure climbed to 393 billion tons. So, in a report that appeared in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, scientists report that they studied high-resolution aerial photographs, satellite radar readings, and as well as looking at historic Landsat imagery to survey 18 South Polar regions encompassing 176 basins and surrounding islands of Antarctica to make and take the most precise measurement of ice loss thus far. Most of the loss is attributed to the contact with warming oceanic waters, as the oceanic waters, wave action lapping against the ice shelf kind of eats away from underneath it. And I discussed that with you, grounded sea ice as opposed to sea ice, glacial ice hanging out over the sea. So you have grounded glacial ice on the bedrock, start eroding that from underneath there, and the ice sheets can snap off. Since 1979, it has contributed 14 millimeters to global sea level rise. That's 1.4 centimeters. Now that may not sound like much, but when you think about the surface area of the ocean, then you start calculating the volume, that is a significant amount. Now, 1.4 is a little over half an inch, for those not familiar with metric. Something like 9/16, 5/8, something like that. Now, that's about that much. May not sound like much, but spread that over the entire surface area, that's a significant amount. So, Dr. Eric Renault of the University of California, Irvine states, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I guess he couldn't help the pun. As the Antarctic ice sheet continues to melt away, we expect multi-meter sea level rise from Antarctica in the coming centuries. If all the ice on the continent were to melt, it would raise global sea levels by 57 meters. That's his estimate, that's his statement. For more than a decade, scientists have been concerned with the rate of warming, the rate acceleration of glacial flow, and the loss of shelf ice off West Antarctica. How many times have you heard me stress everything depends on the rate of change? The latest study indicates that East Antarctica, which is home to a greater volume of ice, is also losing mass. Accelerating glacier movement across Greenland towards the sea has also concerned climate scientists, worried about ice melts for years. The island's bedrock bears a burden of ice sufficient to raise global sea levels by 7 meters. 57 and 7, last I checked, that's 64 meters. That's over 200 feet of sea level rise. Researchers have used data from the GRACE satellites. Now, GRACE is an acronym that stands for Gravity, Recovery, and Climate Experiment. And the GRACE satellites have been operational since 2002. They also report in the same Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences Journal that the largest sustained loss of ice on Greenland came from the island's southwest. They think that within 2 decades, the region could become a major contributor to global sea level rise. Why the loss is accelerated is unclear. Michael Bevis of Ohio State University said that whichever this was, it couldn't be explained by glaciers because there aren't many there. It had to be surface mass. The ice was melting inland from the coastline. It wasn't just ice at the periphery, but coming from an inland source. That's basically what he's saying. Of course, and obviously a warming atmosphere and a warming ocean are the two main principal agents for the ice loss in the Arctic region, as well as Antarctic region. Melting rates have been uneven. The unexplained acceleration between 2003 and 2013 was followed by an equally puzzling pause. Natural atmospheric cycles such as the North Atlantic Oscillation must be part of the explanation. Now, this is a really interesting thing, and I should probably make some videos discussing ENSO, the Pacific Decadal Oscillation, PDO, and ENSO, of course, is El Nino Southern Oscillation, and the North Atlantic Oscillation. If you were to look at a little video showing the average increase in temperatures, or the average temperatures for planet-wide, and on such things, wherever you see it, yellow, orange, red, that means it's warmer than the average baseline. Blue, dark blue, is cooler than the average baseline. If you look at the whole planet, most of the planet you see orange, red, and yellow. There's a region in the North Atlantic where it's blue. And that's the NAO. The NAO can affect climatic situations. I should probably prepare a video on the NAO, the PDO, and ENSO, and explain how that all figures into Earth's climate system, as well as how human impacts are affecting those things. Professor Bevis continues, these oscillations have been happening forever, so why only now are they causing this massive melt? It is because the atmosphere is at its baseline warmer. The transient warming driven by the NAO was riding on top of more sustained global warming. We're going to see faster and faster sea level rise for the foreseeable future. Once you hit that tipping point, the only question is, how severe does it get? There are those who will contend that we're already at the tipping point, if perhaps not past it. So basically, we're seeing a considerable dramatic increase of polar ice loss. 4 times in Greenland, 6 times in Antarctica, which will bring sea level rises and further indication of how we are changing the planet. So thank you for your time, and we'll talk soon. Hey folks, this is Jim here reminding you to subscribe to this channel, to share my videos, tell others of the work that I do here. I also ask that if you are not already a patron at Patreon, to please consider becoming a patron at Patreon. You can find the information in the description box below the video. I'm asking you to help support the work that I do. I do not take any money from corporations or from any other sources, so the information I share with you is the actual science as it comes out of the peer-reviewed journals. So there is no BS, there's no propaganda, there's no agenda. It's just I present the science and I explain to you what it means, or at least my interpretations of it, based on my own experience as a scientist. I want this channel to grow. I consider, while I discuss many different topics here, you notice I do focus a lot on climate issues. I consider climate change to be the most pressing issue facing humanity today. Thus, I consider it important to disseminate this information to a wider and wider, more and more people. And I need your help to do this. So, yes, please subscribe. Please tell others of the work that I do here. Please share my videos on social media platforms, with your social media groups, what have you. We need to get this information out there. So for those of you who are supporting me on Patreon, I thank you greatly for your support and continued support. It does mean a lot to me. So together we can get this information to more and more people. Thank you. Thank you for your support.